All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm here with a returning guest. I guess you've been on the show a bunch of times, dating way back to the very, very early days when it wasn't really even uh, the same podcast as it is now. But you were on most recently, I guess it was a couple of years ago, and you have a new record out. I think before I get too far ahead of myself, you should probably introduce yourself and give a bit of background about who you are, because that's typically how I start the show.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for having me again, Sam. Appreciate it. Um, yeah, my name is Pip Skid, and um, uh, yeah, I make rap music, I guess.
Okay, that's very succinct. Yeah, that works though for sure. And you have a new record out, which I guess is why we're doing this now. I mean, I'm always happy to have you on the show. So I guess that might be a starting point. I mean, I think the last time I talked to you, I'm not even sure what you had released at that point. Was that the record you did with Rob, or was that something else you had out back when we last spoke?
Yeah, it probably would have been the pandemic record with Rob.
Okay.
With Rob Crooks, and yeah, I think we talked about me possibly making this record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then I think it's been may have a new record out with McEnroe on Peanuts and Corn, which it turns out it'd been, I guess, 18 years since the two of us
Oh wow.
made a record together, since Funny Farm, like a Pip Skid solo record anyway. Which the math on that, I thought it was wrong at first, but yeah.
It sounds wrong. Like it seems like, I mean, I know Funny Farm came out a while ago now, but 18 years seems like way too long. But I guess time doesn't exist anymore. So
No, absolutely not. Yeah, and excuse me. So then I've been drinking these Zevia colas like crazy.
are they any good?
Yeah, they take a minute to get used to, but I mean, trying not to have sugar in your life, they're like that. I think they're fantastic now.
Right
Um,
on.
but anyway, so yeah, so it was a long time, a very long time, and so it was really fun to work with Rod. I mean, again, ideally we had ideas. Oh, maybe we can like both drive out to like Moose Jaw, wherever the like halfway point would be, and like
Yeah.
rent a Airbnb and record together. But as everything just kind of stretched on, and anyhow, so it was the first time made a record where we weren't together.
Okay.
So I mean, in a sense, that was sort of interesting. I mean, it's not. I mean, I like the idea of being around someone, especially with the producer, where you're able to yeah, where you're able to like just sit together and be like, can you try this, can you try this, because I
Yeah.
think some things get just kind of lost, where I would be up till 5 a.m. and I would send Rod like a million ideas, and then he'd be working, so he wouldn't get to them for a week, and then and then it's just like ideal to be in the same room. But yeah, I'm really happy with the record we made. And it was, I mean, it was, yeah. I feel like after however many, like 30 years of writing rap music or something, whatever it's been, that I'm finally just starting to get the hang of it.
Okay. Okay. Why is that? Like, what didn't you have the hang of before? Because I mean, I think that you have a pretty extensive catalog at this point, and as a solo artist and with various groups and things like that, what has changed?
I don't know, like it felt like, um I mean, no way am I near like figuring it out, but I feel like I'm a little bit closer. It just feels more, natural and easier to write than it ever did.
Okay.
Um, I mean, when I first started writing it, it came pretty quick, but it wasn't very good. So
Right.
now I just feel like, and maybe that has something to do with age too. Um, that said, there's a long, anyway, I feel, I guess all that to say, I feel revitalized again with making music. Like I feel like I have new places to go again.
Okay.
And
Is some of that in part because there's a lot to kind of react to in terms of what's going on in the world? I mean, because it feels like this album kind of first got announced almost with that anthem song you did, the song about not standing for the anthem. That was the first single that came out from this kind of, I guess, group of songs, right? And that was obviously a reaction to what was going on publicly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, personally, I think like I was so burnt out for so long when I was working, running Studio 393, that you're just you're helping so many people with their art and music that I just had no capacity for my own anymore. And but yeah, there's absolutely is no shortage of bullshit to talk about, but um, also just I don't know, it's just like it just sort of flows. It just sort of flows again, which it wasn't for a while. The taps, there's water in the well again, I guess. Or now that I said that, I'm gonna go through some sort of fucking 6-year writing drought again.
Yeah. Because of this interview, yeah. Is that in terms of like quality as well as quantity? Like, are you just kind of churning out more material and writing more often than you would, and having better quality stuff, or is it one or the other?
I feel like my like I don't know. I feel like it sort of self edits itself now. Um, I'm just in the process in which I'm writing. Like it's more. I'm just sort of finding a way to be in the moment, and so um, it's also that said, it's also a lot simpler in a sense. And not like not that I'm saying less, but I've
Yeah.
just I'm saying the same amount with fewer words, I suppose. I mean, I was always so as a rapper, I was always so envious of pop musicians and rock musicians, where I mean, when you stretch those lyrics out on a piece of paper, there's not a lot there.
There's a couple paragraphs, yeah.
And then I was like, shit, man. And it's like for me to write a minute long verse, it's like 4 pieces of fucking paper. And like, so anyway, I think and um, I think I mentioned this last time, but I have a record with Crab's called it. While I was writing this record, Crab was sending me some newer beats, but I have one that I wrote with him about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And I've since written 3 or 4 more songs in the last half a year for that project. So that one, have that one on that one's pretty. All I need to do is basically go into a studio and then into Argyle Studios and do that one.
Cool.
And then Rod and I are immediately working on I don't know if I can announce it yet, but we have a pretty cool EP with coming up with a very special sort of guest who we've never made music with before. So
Cool.
yeah, so I guess there's also that sort of momentum. That said, I think I could, it's hard. It's hard because life is always in the way of.
Yeah.
When you're not making money with music, it can't be your priority all the time. And so then it's a bit frustrating sometimes. Like I wake up in the morning and I walk the dog and I just have songs in my head. And it's like, well, shit, if I didn't have to do all this stupid shit like all day, I could actually just be making so much music.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a bit frustrating sometimes. So yeah, I mean, ideally I could be just a musician and put out 4 records a year and
Yeah.
But instead, you gotta like work to buy groceries and shit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the worst part about everything. Do those songs go anywhere though? Do you like
streaming platforms of like that was another, putting this record out was there was a depressing moment on the day of the release where it's like, oh man, like Oh yeah, okay. Like it's exciting to you put all this time and love and energy into this thing, and then it just gets dumped on these streaming platforms that who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's um it's a terrible, it's just, I mean, I'm not gonna rant about that, but it's just such a terrible, terrible platform for music. Um it's, and I use them, but it's as a musician, it's really depressing. Um those songs go anywhere. I mean, some of them I stick in my voice notes and they turn
Okay.
into things. And but you know, I mean, it's just like, I mean, I'm always singing to the dog. I'm always making up new songs for the dog, I mean, um, yeah, I mean, I suppose I could make album of dog songs. Some of them are pretty good, I think.
Probably, yeah, yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Does working with McEnroe again? I know, like you said, it's been 18 years, and you weren't able to do it in person the way you've done everything else. But I imagine you must kind of there's got to be like muscle memory there, just in terms of having worked together for so long and knowing what works like as in combination with each other, right?
Yeah, and I mean, um, Rod's always good because he's not. I mean, it can be frustrating as well, but Rod's not a yes man,
Right.
um, which is good because you need somebody to say no, or no, I don't like that idea, and or at least if I'm trying to push an idea or present an idea, like I'll have to, if I have to explain it, then it helps. You know, it helps me in that sense of too. Is this idea make sense, or is it worth it? And but yeah, I mean, yeah, it was that. I guess that's why that 18 years too seems so long, because it does feel pretty natural.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've always preferred. I don't know how many. I don't have very many records where there were more than one producer. Um, I just like to have. It's so much easier, I find, to work with one person, and I like, to me a record needs to play like a set list. It needs to have a linear sort of path,
Yeah.
um, and it should play front to back. I know that that's not how people digest music anymore, but I mean, that's how I like to approach it and make it. So
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Like, I mean, all my favorite records are usually produced by one person or a team of people because you have that cohesion from start to finish, for sure.
yeah, and like I mean, anyone who hits shuffle is a fucking psychopath. Like,
Yeah, agreed.
and like, I mean, even like with, I know this isn't music, but when I was turning Netflix on the other day, they had some sort of button you can push that just says like "surprise me."
Yeah, yeah. Why? Who would do that? Why would you want to get a random like? I'm watching something I want to watch.
But yeah, same thing with music. Like, I don't want to, the odd time, like there's the odd time where like an album will play on iTunes, um, and the algorithm is dope for a while, but very rarely.
Yeah,
Like, that is, there's a reason why, I'm listening to something, and it's like, I don't you know I don't need your I don't want a surprise birthday party. I don't want a surprise, like, you know
yeah. You don't want a robot telling you what you should like.
yeah, and yeah, and I like to listen to records. I like like listening to this new Quell Chris record is just like the way the record runs from start to back is just so interesting, and like, um and the way it's like, yeah, it's such a joy to listen to something like that, right?
But then it's frustrating to know that 90% of the people listening to it aren't even doing it in that order. They're grabbing bits and pieces. And with your record too, that's how it's. I mean, it sucks, but that's kind of the way of the world, right?
Yeah, for sure, and it is what it is. I mean, even when I first presented Rod with the tracklet, I gave him a couple, like two different A and B. Here are my two ideas for the track list for the
Yeah,
album, and he's like, they both look fine to me, but we can't do that because all the singles have to be within the 4 singles have to be within the first like six tracks. It's
Oh,
just
really?
the way it has to go, because that's the way it works now. Which we actually didn't end up doing. Like one of them is later in the record, but and I was just like, yeah, of course that's the way it's supposed to go now. I mean, in reality, like who gives a shit? Because like how many people are going to listen to this record anyway, or they'll cherry pick through it anyway, right? But like, yeah, I mean, it is
It's weird. It's very weird. Do you make any effort to like uh, make a record for that, or do you just go about the way you normally would without even giving a shit about how people are gonna probably pick it apart? Like, does it impact the songwriting or anything?
No, I mean, all the early process stuff with the songwriting and everything is just so. Um, I mean, I've never writing anything where I'm like someone's going to hear this. It's just, I mean, if I start thinking in that way, it's not good for the creative process. I don't think. It's more of a if it's ever there, it's more of a um, like what would Bird of Prey think that this was a good line?
Yeah, yeah,
Just your peers, right? Or like you know would so and so fit, would so and so sound good on this song, or you know what I mean? It's just like, other than that, it's just kind of try and lose yourself, and yeah,
that's almost a good way to do it. It's almost a benefit of the way things are now, though, is that you don't have to worry about who's going to be listening to it, because you have no idea at this point. It could be anyone. It could be some guy in Bulgaria, right? Like just finding it online on Spotify or something, and it got recommended to him. Like, so you can do that without having to worry about, is it going to sell? Is it going to do any of that stuff?
yeah.
Not that you may have worried about that before, but
Yeah, and I mean, there's no, yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess the plus side to not making any money off music is that you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about getting dropped from your label, or like, or like, will my fans will my fans like this record or whatever, because there are none in the first
right, right. And if there are, you probably know a lot of them personally, and you can get feedback directly, right?
place. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's the positive side to that. And yeah, I mean, uh, I imagine the pressure to create that is put on somebody to create a hit is, once they've had one, is a pretty good way to ruin someone's life,
I believe it. Yeah, yeah,
or any sort of creative output when you're when you're trying to make that next,
yeah.
that magic happen or whatever.
Right. And yet at
No,
this point, you
no
know,
magic here. No magic.
what is the how much is the visual art side of things impacted on this record? Because I mean, like, I mean, looking at you right now on the Zoom call behind you, you got all these drawings, and you put out a calendar recently. You're obviously doing designs for shirts and stuff like that, to go accompany this record. Not to continually talk about how bad the world is with the internet and the way people listen to music, but how important is having that element of it in an era where people aren't necessarily even looking at it? Because it seems important to you in the way you present your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one, and I don't know why. I mean, I I I have no idea why, but I haven't. I don't think I've really done cover art for any of my records. Um, I guess I did the first Farm Fresh one, but I mean, I did like some Rob Crooks ones, and I did a
Yeah,
Greg Person and some other stuff. But uh, yeah, and then I was just like, why am I not making my own cover art? And then I wanted to. I mean, the theme with this record was, um, there's a number of the songs on the album are related to like working class struggle and class war, and sort of the ongoing, like, just you know just the crushing of the working person, and
nice
uh,
happy themes, eh?
yeah, yeah, and so then the Black Cat, uh, in that that shows up in a lot of the art is a like symbol of the illegal strike and the black cat strike and the sort of IWW anarchist excuse me approach to like to a socialist sort of view of labor. And
Yeah.
so I wanted the and then done in the I wanted to do it cartoony and sort of the style of like Sylvester, the cartoon violence and the
Yeah. Yeah.
with the Sylvester sort of killing the uh like the black cat's journey to kill the monopoly man and eat the rich and da 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 da. But so yeah, that's it was nice. And I mean again with the with having a theme and stuff and for the art to go with the record made sense to me.
Cool. Well, and I think that people are expecting maybe not that specific of a theme, but these kind of themes in your music. I mean, it's not something new that you've been talking about this kind of stuff over the past decades now, right?
Yeah, for long time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all of the politics that we've always addressed in the music is still those issues are still as present as ever.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask you next. Like, that's got the idea of probably listening back to some of your old stuff from 20 years ago, and hearing that these concerns you have that you were very vocally concerned about that they haven't been resolved. Right? It's still, if not the same status quo, it might even be worse now. Like, how do you feel about that? It's like just realizing that this kind of like this never-ending cycle of writing this stuff and of putting these messages out there, and nothing seems to really change. Like, are you hopeful at all that the world's going to get better, or are we just in a giant shithole that's just continually get deeper?
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I mean, I don't have much hope in any sort of good change happening. I mean, you have to have like something going on to like get up every day. And
Yeah.
I mean, in the So Many Cops song on the record, I have some lines about just how long the line doesn't pop into my head, but just how long I've been saying the same thing about cops, and that um, it's refreshing to see that those ideas have now gone pop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
been here for years, and these pigs are a handful. But I mean, I mean, but are these ideas more? Are these some of these like more leftist ideas? Are they more prevalent now, or is it just I mean, I'm in such a bubble, right? That that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Social media feeds and wherever, and the people that I interact with, you know. Um, I mean, as a whole, I don't think the world is obviously moving anywhere close to the right direction. I mean, we're fucked. I mean, in any way, any which way you turn. Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
no matter how bad no matter how bad the earth, or no matter how bad politics get, and how many how many terrible things and how many rights are taken away, and how many this or that happens, like regardless, the earth isn't going to sustain us anyways. It's like, I mean, it's just such a shit show. Not that it's not worth fighting for while we're here, and like, I mean, so there, I guess there is some hope, but I don't, it's bleak, man.
Yeah, it is for sure. Well, and I guess that's the reason to do it, though, right? To keep writing about this stuff is because there's among all the all the bleakness, there's some kind of hope that someone's going to get it, and maybe some of these ideas are going to catch on, like you said, right?
Yeah, and also, for me too, like, as fun as it is to just make a song, um, sometimes it feels wasteful to me, especially as of late, where it's
Okay.
like, And not that the world doesn't need that stuff. Like, of course, the world needs, cool songs of all genres to just put on and feel good, or
Yeah, yeah.
like fucking vibe to, or whatever. But like for me personally, to be making music, it's like you know, even if it's not political, I need to be saying something, even if it's just whatever it is. I mean, um,
Is it cathartic to let that stuff out on a song?
yeah, yeah. I mean, especially when you're writing it, not so much after for me anyway. Like where once it's written, and it's just another, like, it's just another recipe that you make, that you're
Okay.
that it's like that same fucking pasta dish you always do. It
Yeah,
just
yeah.
gets tired, and you know, does that make any sense?
It does. Yeah, yeah. It's a weird analogy, but yeah, it does make sense for sure, for sure. And that just took a really dark turn, except for the pasta part. But yeah, no, but I get it. I think that like I think that people. I mean, I don't know if I speak for everyone who listens to your stuff, but I feel like you have a lot of songs kind of over the history of your music making that are good to listen to when you're pissed off about something, because it's, and not just your stuff too. I mean, the reason I listen to a lot of really heavy stuff is because I'm mad about things and I want to kind of feel like, whether it's aggression or someone saying something that I can relate to. There's a reason for that, right? There's a reason people want to hear someone addressing things that are pissing them off, because you can connect to it. I can't sing or rap or any of that, but I can hear someone else doing it and feel that vibe, right?
Yeah, and I guess with that too, like Rod just keeps reminding me that the record isn't a dark record.
Okay.
I mean, according to him, anyway. He's like, I think it's like, and I mean, there's always humor and things added in, um, to, the old the sugar to help the shit go down, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not like a dystopia record or something. But it's
Yeah,
like, um, but yeah, there's there's a purpose, I guess.
cool. And then at this point, where can people find this? Is it just on, like, I mean, it's on the streaming services, and Bandcamp is, obviously also where to get it, but are there physical copies available or coming out, or is it strictly digital at this point?
There's a run of 50 CDs that are available on Bandcamp, and excuse me. We were thinking of doing vinyl, but the wait time was just like
It's
almost a year.
forever. Yeah.
And so it was, and if you're not a touring musician, to buy vinyl that you're not going to get for 11 months after the record comes out, um, it's a scary gamble.
Yeah.
If you're not on the road working that, and like, so then, yeah, I mean, I would like to do tapes. I don't know. Maybe I'll find someone who wants to do that. I just have so much limited time in my life to not, in the past, I would just cut a bunch of tapes, but
Yeah. Yeah.
not time for that. And yeah, and then some shirts and merch and stuff, um, available through me. And yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna do a. I was just a few hours ago trying to figure out. I want to do a release party of some sort that causes me the least amount of anxiety possible, and so
Good
I'm
plan.
trying to figure out how that looks. There's in my neighborhood. There's this strange little sort of traveling tour where, um, different musicians in the neighborhood play sets in their front yard,
Oh, cool.
at different times through the night, and so people can walk or ride their bikes around and like stop at each front yard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I might just fold that into my album release party. I don't know yet.
Those are the best kind of shows anyway. Like where you just sitting in someone's yard or on the street watching someone play. I don't know. I don't like people anymore, so I prefer shows at my own house where I can control everything. But yeah,
Totally. And yeah, Ness and I went to see Rap Ferreira the other night, which I'm glad I went. But yeah, I mean, we sat in the car for like 10 minutes trying to convince each other whether we should go in or just leave.
yeah. Well, I think that the pandemic has like really added to people's anxiety over that. Like I was already like that, and a lot of people were already like that before, and this has just made it worse. Like I want to go to so many shows, but I haven't because I just the same thing, right? It's just I don't know. What should I go in here with all these people, or should I just stay home and listen to a record and be safe and comfortable and got my dog there and eat some chips? You know,
And what wins out?
the chips and the dog for sure.
Of course, right?
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. Yeah.